Hey there, everybody. It's Shadow Gear 6335, doing a long overdue review of a MOC I posted, I guess it was a month ago now, of Obelisk, the Armored. It's a giant spider centaur guy. Here he is. For clarification, for the longest time until I came up with a name for this guy, which was the day I posted him, is when I started to actually look for a name for this character. I called him Spider-Man. So let's do a review of Spider-Man. So as you can tell, he's not in his normal configuration. Typically how I have him posed on the shelf every now and again is that he's just posed like this, just kind of sitting down, doing his own thing. His own little spider face on there and everything. And he still has a staff as well, which we will cover. We'll eventually get to it. So let's start from the ground up, which is the biggest part of this MOC, are his legs. So I'm going to zoom out as much as I can and cover as much of this as I possibly can as well. Let's put the arms out here, get ourselves a little bit of room. So the face in particular here is not meant to represent a separate character, or that this is actually just a spider with a dude on top. This is just a cute little face I put together. Like, when I made the lower half, I made that first. And just to, kind of make it look a little more complete, I just jokingly put a little face on the front of it. And I kept it, because I showed it to a bunch of people, and they thought, oh, that's kind of cute. Sure, keep it there. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll keep it. Whatever. So yeah, he has little appendages he can open up. And do that as well. Also, while we're here, I'm going to flip this around, while things are still a little bit more maneuverable, to his butt. His butt originally had more glow-in-the-dark little Viscerax spiders, like there would be an extra two, like right here, but they kept falling off, and I just took them off eventually. There's some open studs here that I very well could have covered, but something I didn't really necessarily think of. So an interesting little bit of detail. Not really detail, something I didn't do, but I tried to do, and it ended up being a terrible idea. So if I flip him onto the bottom, which, well, you can tell you're not going to be looking at the bottom all that much, so I didn't put that much effort into it. Although there's a Benton chest piece. That's a little bit interesting. So right here in the thorax of this dude, which I know it's not accurate to a real spider because actual spiders have much more larger, posable, separate appendaged thoraxes, but I didn't really bother with this guy. Because I convinced myself that if you're going to have a thorax, that implies you're going to have babies, and that would imply it's female, so I didn't want to imply this MOC would be female. But also, I know nothing about spiders, only about how they look, so whatever. But again, back to the topic of the thorax, there is a weighted brick. I forget what Technic set it's called, but it was a red and white Technic crane, and on the back of it, there were these two weighted bricks that had some sort of weight in them. Like, it had to be maybe, I'd probably say like a pound, like a solid pound inside each brick. It was like they were 2x6s, but they were double the height. And I thought, oh, hey, I had the idea of like, what if this guy is posed like leaning forward a bunch and I need to have counterbalance? I'll put something here in his butt. Well, that ended up being a cool idea because, I put it in his butt and, he was super heavy, super dense. And I'm like, wow, this feels really good. Until it was around the time I was almost done with the MOC, I realized, oh shit, why are the tips of his legs bending? Like these little bits here. These were starting to like bend near 90 degrees. And I'm like, why the fuck are these bending? And then I realized, oh shit, he's too heavy to support himself with the legs I designed. So also this fell apart for some dumb reason. He was too heavy to support the leg design I created for him, so I ended up taking that brick off, which kind of sucks, but it'll be used for something else. That's fine. So yeah. And in the back of the abdomen section here, there's a big old ugly piston there, which doesn't add too much posability, but it makes them a lot more stable. So I do like that. I'm going to move on to the front here before I actually start spreading these legs apart. To this little other doofy face I added here for the sake of whatever. So, if you can tell, this little 2x2 round tile is the bat eye from one of the bat mixels that came out during the last series. And I put it there to fill it out because if I don't, it'll just look like that. I could have just put a stud there, but I thought no, let's put this little doofy piece here. And there are also little black spiders here, which these little things here. Another glow-in-the-dark Viscerax spider. I'll cover the glow-in-the-dark stuff towards the end, so don't worry with that. And then here are the skull spiders used as a little hip armor. The way those are connected, if you probably are curious, is that they barely are. They are frictioned on there by adding a couple pieces to have them really clip onto, and they unalign themselves sometimes. This and the chest armor does that a lot too. They unalign themselves, but if I just kind of squeeze it in a bit and adjust it all the right way, it all ends up fitting perfectly fine. So let's get to the big part of this. Let's get to the legs. Now, this leg design, I had someone comment when this guy was first revealed saying, these legs look really weird. Like the rest of the MOC looks really updated, but the rest seem like the legs seem like really old. That's because they kind of are. Should I do this? You know what? I'm going to. Hold on! I got this! I can do it! No dead air! Ho! Ho 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 ho! It's a robo baby! The leg design on this was the leg design I used for a version of Nadiki I created. He'll be reviewed eventually. Eventually he will be, but he's super dusty right now, and I don't know, he's an old MOC that I still really like. But it's a modified version of his leg design, which is something, to this day I'm still proud of. And so I'm going to lift this guy up and start unfurling the leg. So I might as well go over the posability while I'm here as well. His leg can bend that much, at least this front leg can. It can bend that much. It can go forward a bit like this. Obviously, the mobility of them going in and out depends on the positioning of the other three legs on the side. So you can do that. This bends. It's double ball joint, so it's pretty tight. It's pretty alright, and no posability at the tip of the leg. So let's get this guy in a pose that'll just have him standing, nothing crazy. And he can support himself very well. For the longest time, he only had 4 legs, even though I intended to have 8 because, I need to order some parts. So yeah, there we go. There we have him standing. I'm going to have to back up a lot more than I thought I would. There we go. So let's go for the design of this just a bit. So as you can tell, a Roxy spine there. A little bit of nice detail I want to add here. It's not on the front legs because I could have ordered these pieces, but I didn't, but I will in the future. So as you can tell, there are these little off-colored white pieces that are on the insides of these Roxy spines. And those are normal little, tail pieces, spike pieces that are very common in LEGO sets. There's no easy way for me to pull them out right now, but these are glow-in-the-dark. These pieces in particular came out with a Bionicle play set. It was like a giant Paraka mouth, and the teeth of that were glow-in-the-dark spike bits. And I found a way to connect them to have them go in here, and you use the spike piece, and if you can tell what that little bit right is there, those are just the normal little clips with a little lightsaber peg at the end of it. And to cover up that peg, I added a little bigger peg, just a little spike right there. And those stay in pretty securely. The thing that sucks is that I only had 6 of them. And so I put, 3 in the back and this front one in the front simply just has a black one. I intend to order more of them, just 2 more and a little bit of extra, because you never know when I'm going to need them again. So, yeah, there's that. I thought that was a really cool bit of, extra glow-in-the-dark detail. Which, I wish this guy did have more glow-in-the-dark. But that's a main issue of me being like, hey, I'm going to budget this much money towards glow-in-the-dark pieces, which aren't expensive, but for what they are, I think they're a bit expensive. So, yeah, that's that for the top of the leg. It's very hollow on the inside. There's some, ugly Technic holes kind of showed off on the side there. I mean, it's all black, so it's not as noticeable, but you can definitely tell. I think at one point, yeah, this little, this hole right here, that's completely hollow. I could have filled that in all the legs, but I ended up I didn't, because that was a situation where I straight up copied the design of the old version, and the old version, there were holes there, and I didn't bother to fill those in, because, I'm a little stupid. Now back onto the topic of the legs, I might as well talk about the piston that's under here, which definitely does add some nice stability. And I'm going to flip him onto his butt so we can get a better look at what's going on here. So here is a reason of parts limitation and also a way to add some backstory to this guy. So, as you can tell, there are silver pistons here, and you know some of these little connectors are not the right color, they're not all the same color, and there are some silver bits here. I originally intended for this MOC to just be, just black, white, and glow-in-the-dark. Black, white, dark blue, and glow-in-the-dark bits. And it came to the conclusion that for the design I wanted to go for with this guy, I really had to use silver, meaning I had to use pistons, meaning that most of the MOC had to be silver. So I'm like, oh god, I gotta add silver to this, the color scheme's gonna look super weird, I mean, I don't want to add silver to this for no good reason. And then I came up with the idea of like, well, what if this is like, because generally this MOC was inspired by me playing through Dark Souls 2, and even though there is no centaur boss, with the exception of the Scorpion Lady, I wanted to make something on that type of scale, that type of character. And so I had the idea of like, what if this guy is like this giant, just this sorcerer, like caster, and he's giant, and then the way people would, you know, knock him down and try and kill him is by attacking the bottoms of his legs, or the underside of his legs. So as time went on, he added armor to himself, especially towards the bottom of his legs, so people couldn't like cut out certain tendons and whatever, and he started to put that onto his upper body as well. So that was a thing. Another idea I had with this guy, again, part of a parts limitation. I mentioned earlier that those little tail pieces on the insides of the Roxy heads, I only had 6. And at the same time, even though it looks fine now, I had a hard time finding black Roxy spines in certain particular pieces that were really necessary to finishing this character. So I had the idea at one point to just be like, why don't I just give him 2 silver legs that are in 2 random spots on each side? And then a couple people were like, well, that's cool, but that would be blatantly obvious that you didn't have the right colored parts, and that you're just using that to fill it in. And I thought, well, I guess you're right. So he's whole here. So enough rambling, enough backstory. Let's move on to the lower part of the leg, which is different from the Nadiki revamp. My original intention, so Vanity's lower leg design, a MOC I made previously, it's very cone shaped, and I had the idea of originally making the tip, like her lower leg, the actual tip of each spider leg. And if you know what that leg is made up of, you can imagine it would be very costly for me to order all those parts and make that happen. So here's a modified version, because at the time I had bought like a clearance Alien Conquest set, Alien Attack, what the last space theme was. It came with 8 of these little leg bits. So I use those. Very nice pieces to have. In terms, there is a little bit of alteration here with the legs, because again, it's a parts limitation thing as well. So like, on each side there are 2 of these armor bits and 2 of these armor bits. So there's that. Things I wish I could have done. I wish I found something nice and spiffy to cover up those 2 axle holes there. But I don't know, in the future, this is a character I don't intend to take apart, so I'm confident that I'm going to be adding stuff to him as time goes on as well. Just because, even if I don't use him in the storyline, which even though I do intend to, I like the way he looks a lot, and he's probably going to replace my Nadiki in terms of evil-looking spider guy who's on my shelf. Also, again, a part of parts limitation here, if I start taking off the armor, you can tell that there's some discoloration here. In terms of, there's some light gray here, which, well, oh, I'm getting a phone call. You know, you'd think I'd get used to actually turning off my phone during reviews. I don't. So, again, discoloration. There's some light gray here, some black here, some light gray over here. Like, it's very mixed. Solely because, again, parts limitation. This was a very ambitious idea of mine. I mean, nowhere near as ambitious as Sovereign. But this was something that I want to make it this size. And it ended up being bigger than I thought. And the certain pieces I wanted to use, it took like 2 or 3 Bricklink orders. So you can imagine how much of an ass-ache it is. So yeah, those are the legs. I think they're very cool. I mean, I think they're not my favorite part of the MOC aesthetically, But in terms of functionality, like, there's one pose I was able to pull off where I was able to just make the legs, like, rise up like this. Like, he can stand on 6 legs and have, like, the 2 front legs just be like, ah. Get this back leg up here. Yeah, look at that. He's able to pull off this pose, which, that's awesome, dude. Like, that's such a cool freaking pose to have. I mean, again, like, even though there's no weighted brick, after a certain amount of time, I'm pretty sure these, because they're not the most they're not the most durable of material, but I'm sure they would start bending, and then that would be another ass ache of trying to bend them back into place. So yeah, those are the spider legs. I friggin' love the spider legs on this guy in terms of just play value. I think they're super fun, and I'm happy I was able to get the final product out that I wanted to make with them. So, now we move on to the upper body, which was a bit of a hassle. So, this was during a time of mocking where I had a hard time really making mocks. And this guy was about like a 2-3 month project, and his head is falling apart because I'm trying to move his head up, which we will get to the head, don't worry. So I'm going to pull the head off for right now, just pull that head off. And you can see all the detail in his chest. So these 2 bits here, if you can look closely enough, they are a little unaligned because they are connected, I wouldn't say in an illegal way, but in a way that kind of stresses like the whole build of the mock, and how this little front bit here kind of connects that all together. Like, with this torso, in my mind, I had the idea of, like, I want to use this blue, like, Rockshi Technic bit that's in dark blue that came at Kreka, and go at it from there. And I ended up with this. I'm going to spin around here. This little bit of detail here, not necessary, but I do like having that little spine bit there, to add that there. Also, another thing, these pieces here, these rubbery hand connector bits, I'm surprised how yellowed they get after a while. Not the black and white ones. The black and white ones are pretty okay, but only the blue ones have that weird discoloration. And I haven't the slightest idea as to why. So that's a thing. So we're going to move on to the back as well. The back's a little bit flimsy because I have this little spider bit there, which I probably should tilt up in order to show you guys that. This little bit here, there's another little Vaki spider jammed into the inside of this, so here's a little eye bit sticking out. And I like this spider piece a lot that came out with Black Phantom of Hero Factory. I really like this piece. Again, I probably could have added some pieces here, you know, to make this look a little bit more attached and done something with that, but no, I really didn't. And again, stuff I will add probably in the future, who knows. Also, a little scrawl bit there with a little glow-in-the-dark spine bit hanging off his back. Doesn't add anything other than, hey, that looks kind of cool. So, I don't know, man. It looks alright. I always find it funny that every single time I do one of these long reviews, the camera dies halfway through and I take a shower. Now I'm back, squeaky clean. So yeah, this is the back of the mock. Something I want to point out, which some of you may have noticed, is that there are 2 little ball joints here, and you go, what is that piece from? Well, if I were to lift this up and take this piece off, comfortably, that, referencing it again twice in the same review, this is the Ben 10 torso. Now, if you're not familiar with the Ben 10 sets, the Ben 10 sets were a 6-figure line of construction sets that came out immediately after Bionicle. Like, the Ben 10 construction sets were the in-between between Bionicle and Hero Factory coming out. So, yeah, this is the torso, and I chose it because this was like the general shape I wanted. I wanted to have like that nice curved back, and I ended up not using it to its fullest potential, but you know what? I think it's an interesting use of piece, because, you know, not a lot of people, you know, use those pieces. You know, it's a little uncommon, and it's having a little bit of a pain trying to get this back on. So, hooray, we're going to do this together as a family. Are you ready? Oh man, I'm ready. I've been waiting for this. Persona 3 is a good game. That will do. That will do. Moving up here to the shoulder pads. Again, incorporating silver into the mock. I figured, hey, let's add some big, nice Onua shoulder pads onto here. Even had some little Vaki dudes here as well. I gotta say, now that the last wave Bionicle's been out for a pretty decent amount of time, and I've thought about it after a while. You know what? These shovel pieces, I think, are my new favorite piece out of the new wave of Bionicle. Like, these are just like they make really good hip and shoulder armor, as well as making really cool weapons. Like, I love them. They're great. And the posability of these guys, they can just move up and down. I mean, they get in the way, they get out of the way, they do what they're supposed to do. And what they're supposed to do now is to get out of the way so we can cover the arms. Arms are incredibly basic. Like, incredibly basic. I didn't feel it necessary to go crazy on the arms because I want to make them thin, make them look not skeletal, because we all know how well skeletons are going to be in the next couple days. I don't know. Just make them thin. Oh, I knocked that guy off. Oh no. There we go. You can tell the connection from there. The little lightsaber rod right through there to connect that Hordika neck to this Hero Factory bone. So, cheating, kind of. And the shoulder, it's on a ball joint. There's a dark blue Mata foot in here, connecting all that together. And you can swivel this out, and some other weird motions if you so choose to do such a thing. But typically I just keep it down. So there's that. Ball joint for the elbow. Little rubber band here. There's rubber bands throughout this MOC. Not a lot. I think just on the arms, actually, to be honest with you. Oh, no, on the staff, too. I'll get to the staff. But these are rainbow looms. I work at a store that sells them, and I bought them because I was like, hey, I need white rubber bands. And then I came to the conclusion that these little rubber bands are actually glow in the dark. So I wanted to put a lot more of them on this guy, but it looked kind of bad after a while. So I ended up not using a lot of them. And then the lower arm design it's a little interesting if I just pull one of these guys out. I mean, this is the whole connection for this lower arm design. That's it. You can just put a whole lightsaber rod through the hand connector and, get some spacers and kind of space these out this way. And then you just put those in, slide that guy on. I mean, I could cut these on the side, but I just ended up not bothered to doing it. Me, of all people, not wanting to cut lightsaber rods. But, yeah, there's that. Nice little bit of detail here. A little bit of recycling on this MOC as well. Not with just the legs, but the hands as well. These hands are from an old MOC of mine called Docile, an Necrospherian species thing I created. And I fell in love with this hand design a lot, and I thought it was a perfect fit for this MOC. However, it's still very, very, very illegal to use this type of connection. There's probably no easy way for me to really show this off. So you can tell there is a little stud there, and there's no hole through the middle, so it's one of those pins with the stud on the end with a lightsaber rod going through the middle of it. And over here you can also tell, if I were to rip this off, is that there's a normal pin with a stud at the top, but there's a hole through it. So you're wondering, yeah, I see how that connects, but how does this one have friction? I took another one of those studs with the hole through there, and I cut it in half, so it's able to fit the dimensions of this. And you get a really cool looking hand out of it, but again, super illegal. So, yeah, keep that in mind if you want to use it for yourself. I mean, if you can't figure it out, I might do a how-to on it at some point, I don't know, but yeah, there's the hand. I think it's a nice, perfect fit. I like that a lot. And before we move on to the staff, let's talk about the head, which I will promptly throw back onto this guy. Well, actually, first, I think I'm better off just manhandling it like this for the time being. This head is awesome. I love this head design a lot. So the eyes here, these 6 little eyes. Oh, can I focus that? Yeah, there we go. This is a modified version of the alternate head I had for Vanity. This was the mouth. And I originally had the idea of, hey, why not flip these 2 bottom teeth that were originally up here, flip them around so you have 3 eyes facing one direction. It's a very angular head, too, like the way this is created. And the way it is that if I take... Whoa! It's all system, so you can imagine there are going to be some loose connections here. Oh, geez, yeah. Oh, man, this is going to be a nightmare. So, yeah, here's the top part of the head, and you use these little cute slope pieces, and you connect it in the middle as opposed to connecting it on the left or right, which makes it a much more loose connection. But now you have this little type of detail. I mean, that's all something. That's all well and good. And then this would be the back of the head. Nice little, basic there. But these are the sides of the head. These on little hinge pieces. And that's how the head's connected. And this is one half of the face, and here's the other. And then you just connect them together. Now, the part where this kind of falls apart is that if you try to, squeeze his head in any direction, the head will kind of collapse in on itself. And then the hardest part is sliding this little front bit right in here. And then there we go. I'm going to pop that head right back on. And also he has little opposable teeth, little opposable pincers as well, which I think are cute. Not teeth, just little mandibles. I do have these pieces in silver, and I could have used them in silver. But you know what, black? I like the way the black one looks a lot better. So there's that. There's Obelisk. Now let's move on to his staff, which it's a very long staff, mind you. It's taller than him. Yeah, the staff is taller than him. So, the base of it, little Spider-Man curly Q little string piece wrapped around it. Little peg there so we can put it in his hand. The end of this uses a lot of those rubber bands. These are all glow in the dark. Bought 2 of those little bat mixels and used them on both sides. A little eyepiece there. And then the tip of this is actually glow in the dark too. So the cute thing with this, and I didn't do this intentionally, but you can make this a little spider. You can just push these down a bit. And now he's like a little do with a giant pole sticking out of his back. I thought that was cute. Cute little bit of detail. It could also be like a little grabber. That's a nice, a little unsubtle, or just a subtle, I should say, play feature. And you can just kind of peg that into the bottom of his hand. You can just grip his hand around that. And he can hold it without any real issue. I mean, sometimes it'll snag down like that. But 9 times out of 10, if you want to get him in a particular pose, he does the job that he needs to do. Unlike these little Viscerac dudes. Viscerac dudes that glow in the dark. Which reminds me, hey, I probably should show you guys what this guy looks like glowing in the dark. I gotta find a dark room. I'll be right back. And here we are with some glow in the dark. I didn't bring my mic into here, but I'm just using the camera mic for now, so I'm sorry if it sounds super bad. It's hard to make out some detail. I'm probably gonna brighten this up a bit in post and try and make everything look a little more noticeable. But yeah, the staff is the biggest part. You can tell there's just one big eye in there. Also, if you can't tell, this is recorded from my bathroom. Hooray! It's the darkest place in my house right now. So yeah, again, sorry about focusing. I have no idea how well this is coming out, but there are some glow-in-the-dark bits going through the legs there. There are some pictures in the slideshow you can take a look at to show what parts are glow-in-the-dark. It's very cool to see a MOC have something like this. Because, not a lot of people focus on glow-in-the-dark, and typically when they do, they just use the Baraki pieces, which are perfectly fine pieces. It's just having this nice little spider effect. I think it's super rad. The way that all this works. It's also really cool that at the end of the night when I go to bed and I turn off my lights and I just see this guy kind of glowing off on my top shelf and he's just like, yeah, look at him, he's menacing. The only thing I really wish that I had were some glow-in-the-dark eyes, which would complete this entire thing. But sadly, there are some pieces I can use to substitute it for that, but I just like the use of the normal teeth pieces, and the new Ninjago sets that have that off-color green like the skull spiders have, I could use those as eyes, but they're still not going to be glow-in-the-dark, so I'm not too sure. So yeah, this probably sounds terrible. You guys probably can't see anything, so let's go back to my room. Welcome back to the land of the light. Here we are back seeing Obelisk in his full glory. And I guess for the sake of science comparison, I kind of grabbed the first thing I saw. Here he is compared to a Mictoran. So he's pretty large. And this isn't even his max height. I can make those legs go all the way up and probably bring him up to about You know what? If I really wanted to, I probably can bring him up to be taller than Dominion, who's about 14 inches. So, yeah, big guy. Like, I'm super happy on how Obelisk came out. Like, this was a guy I originally intended to be a bat character, and then decided to make him a spider, like a bipedal spider-themed humanoid. And then a couple people, especially Junie, was like, you just make him into a centaur. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let's make him a centaur. And I ended up being, as you can tell, very ambitious with how this centaur came out. So, again, very happy with how Obelisk came out. Like I mentioned in the probably very terrible sounding bathroom glow-in-the-dark scene, whenever I pick up those new Ninjago sets, probably going to change his eye color to that off, not glow-in-the-dark color to make everything kind of match. Still wish these eyes were glow-in-the-dark. If I really, really wanted to, I can just get some glow-in-the-dark paint and kind of just get some white ones, dip them in there, and do that. But, like, I don't want to admit defeat too much yet. Oh, there goes Skype. Oh, no. Also, that is probably the end of this review. So, that is that. Pretty long one, too. I'm happy if you guys stayed the whole time. I guess I might as well steal Junie's bit from the podcast and be like, hey, if you listen to this entire review, put Spider-Man in the comments. Spider-Man. So yeah, that's Obelisk. He'll be in stop motions soon. Only one so far, because I've only planned for one so far with him. And I hope you all enjoy your day. Have a spiffy day. This is ShadowGear 635, and I can use some iced tea. So bye!